Hoodie guy coming back here with another one. Buckle up, my friends. Up and down. Bitcoin over 90,000, back down. Right here, Paulie Marcus said, breaking. Trump's addressed the nation today reportedly about an announcement of war with Venezuela, but 79% chance of no conflict according to the betting market. So my dad came back. He's like, oh my God. He's like, that might be what it's about tonight or whatever. And hopefully not. Yeah, Trump is a magnet for a lot of volatility. And I don't know, sometimes, you might like what he's doing, but then he also, I know there's people that like him that think like, say the way he posted about Rob Reiner was like, you're a billionaire president of the United States. You don't need to bash Rob Reiner and make it about you, even if you didn't agree with the guy and the guy was thought completely different. Anyways, Coinbase launches stock trading in the U.S. I guess I don't really pop onto the Kaspa Discord. I should. Seems like old hashtag Jonathan's in there more. But this is kind of interesting. I saw now this is from a couple months ago, so it's nothing breaking. But the Telegram group Kaspa Core R&D public, so they have their private Telegram or private chat. But this one is you can't write anything in there if you're not part of the core research or code, helping with code base or researching that stuff. But you can just go in there as an enthusiast or if an interested developer, or you're just an investor and you just want to take a peek under the hood. Also, they yesterday they started with a Kaspa hackathon. You can win. There's up to 200 total thousand Kaspa giveaway there. I don't know anything about that. I'd be useless at that. So I have no skill set. That'll be in January 16th to February 15th. So that'll be like a month long and just under a month. That's what's going on. You can see a lot of red for the year. Most everything's in the red besides Zcash, AB, Pax Gold, OKB. But for the most part, you can see for the last year, most everything's in the red. The week, most everything's in the red. Casp was down 14%. I guess the last 4 hours, there's a little bit of green, but that's it. It is. So I'm still bullish, and I know that right now, like Michael Burry, the guy that called the Big Short, is real bearish, but he's been bearish on a lot of different things, shorting a lot of different stuff since he was right about the housing market. And he's been wrong a lot. So you just have to take everything he says with a grain of salt. Basically, I have to take everything everyone says with a grain of salt. No one's really right all the time. But to me, it's interesting. We had Trump, a pro-crypto president. Paul Atkins, the SEC chair, is pro-crypto, even though, they did make a Bitcoin ETF under the Biden administration. Multiple cabinet members, Howard Lutnick was, in his company, Cantor Fitzgerald is still very, which I think his son technically is running, but he's probably influencing that. But they're part of 21, that Bitcoin treasury company. They're working with Tether a lot. The White House Crypto Council, SEC approval of streamlined generic listing standards in September, accelerating crypto ETF approvals, first ever spot coin ETFs approvals, Solana ETF. I mean, there's just a lot of bullish things going on. The price is not reflecting that. Here, this person, Ashra Thabbind or whatever, I don't know, Ash Kaspa, said finality isn't binary. Kaspa proves it. Bitcoin relies on probabilistic finality. Confidence increases with time, never absolute. No safe pruning. Throughput limited. I'm not sure about this. I'm just going off his post. Now, Kaspa takes a duality finality approach, immediate probabilistic finality, ghost DAG, deterministic block ordering. Honest blocks dominate with overwhelming probability, near instant transaction confidence, much faster than Bitcoin's longest chain rule. Deterministic finality, depth-based. After fixed depth, blocks are mathematically irreversible. I thought reorgs were maybe possible for even up to like a day or two on Kaspa. Maybe somewhat. Reorgs become impossible. So that's where it says reorgs become impossible but I thought that technically they're possible for a day or two. I don't know. Maybe someone else knows. Uh, you can chime in the live stream chat, or maybe you know. For some reason, I thought that a reorg was possible, technically possible, even though there's a point where there's never been a reorg on Kaspa after a certain point. Enable safe pruning, bounded storage for full nodes. And when you're a big dummy like me, some of this technical stuff takes you multiple times to pound it in my peanut brain. And you're probably a lot more advanced in understanding some of this. It gets kind of complicated, kind of fast. This combination unlocks something rare in crypto: high throughput, absolute security, eventual, sustainable node operations. Bitcoin can't safely prune. Kaspa can by design. This isn't faster Bitcoin. It's a fundamentally upgraded consensus model. Information, Kaspa.com. Probabilistic plus deterministic finality, because why Kaspa scales without compromise. So it takes time, I guess there's a little video here in this after I'm done with the video. But, I think that Kaspa's, if it just needs adoption. Um, I don't know about, because I used to look at the one thing that's the biggest threat is the rapid admission schedule, which, you could have some miners falling off in a couple of years if they're not, if the rewards, if there's not enough fees coming in to replace the block rewards. It's probably the biggest threat. I used to look at that on cast.fyi. I know some people thought that the thumbnail I did the other day was clickbait, but when I said end of an era, and I had to move the Kaspa logo above it because I usually have it in the bottom right, like this thumbnail. But the way that the AI made that image, and I kind of really like that image, but it was end of an era for cast.fyi. And so like, I don't even know where to find the mission schedule now. I know there's probably somewhere else, but I've been looking at that kind of stuff on cast.fyi for every day for a couple, 2 or 3 years or something. Now, I guess my go-to to kind of look at stuff, and I don't know if they have that. I guess Kaspalytics for some of the information, and Kaspa.stream. And if you go to cast.fyi, it's sending you over here. I know that maybe the cast.fyi guys maybe trying to sell for 150 grand. Some people are mad about it, some people not. At the end of the day, no one owes you anything. The guy put a lot of time in there. He probably never got his money back. It's really, if Kaspa, probably not too bad of a deal if Kaspa is going to work out like a lot of people think it's going to. The Fed starts buying, it was on December 12th when they started buying back some treasuries. And then when I was looking that up, I saw this article that said right here that JP Morgan pulls $350 billion from the Fed. Here's why it's buying treasuries. So I didn't really know that how it worked. I mean, there's still a lot to understand for, the financial system. Maybe by design is kind of complicated, but it's right here. What day is this? December 17th. So JP Morgan is shifting billions from the Federal Reserve into US Treasuries. So I guess that means that these banks, I know some of these banks are who own the Federal Reserve. So like the Federal Reserve's our bank account. So what is the Federal Reserve's balance sheet going down? Or are they printing money, or what's going on here exactly? It's so yeah, it's just kind of interesting about that. So, right now is tough. The sentiment's in the gutter. I haven't even looked at the fear and greed index lately. And I know the Supreme Court right now on Polymarket is probably most likely, or it's got a 75% chance of overturning the tariffs. I know that's a big thing for Trump. There's just so many unknowns, whether they, stuff seems like it is heating up with Venezuela, whether they go to an all-out war or not. Who knows what Trump is going to be talking about tonight? I don't know. Maybe it's going on right now. I can't remember what time it was supposed to be, but it's, there's a lot of bears and a lot of bulls still next year. And there's a big divergence between what people think is going to happen. But I do think they're going to have to print money. We are entering the quantitative easing stage. If it's technically quantitative easing, but if their balance sheet's increasing, it's some form of quantitative easing. there's going to be some good development with like VProgs and some other stuff. When that happens next year, who knows? But it feels like they're going to have to turn the money printer back on. And yeah, right now there's some metrics to think that Bitcoin could go up, and Big Daddy Bitcoin is going to lead the charge for altcoins. And that's pretty much it. That's kind of my thesis. I hit the like button of you. Thanks, Buff Link. Thank you for hitting that like button. But yeah, it's right now it's hard to be bullish because it just seems like the altcoins keep getting hammered further and further down. But there's still big news, and I think there was something that they're making it so that banks that maybe uninsured banks or whatever can be involved with crypto or something. I don't know. There's little things like that the SEC and all these other CFTC and stuff are doing all the time, and it just takes time for that to come to fruition. And that's my case. I mean, at this point, I'm not selling my altcoins, so I'm either going to write it down further, or hopefully 2026 plays out somewhat like I think. And yeah, I do think that proof of work is where most of the capital is going to park it, their long term. And I think there's the thesis that Kaspa is going to be a big part of that. So that's where I'm making my bet. I'm sticking to it. And yeah, I'm probably going to start trying to check the Discord more often, because it seems like it's just one other place that I haven't really been paying attention. That's, a good community, and there's announcements and stuff from the team. So that's all I got. Let's see since ETH just set off the all season, what do you expect for ETH to do in the coming weeks? What do you expect for ETH to do in the coming weeks? For ETH, I guess I don't see ETH really overpowering Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin's going down, I don't really see ETH having a great time. But it's the short term is really, really hard. But I think for altcoin season to really feel like, wow, we're in altcoin season, you need ETH to be like 5,500, 6,000, 7,000. It needs to get up there. So this needs to almost double to really feel. It's what, 2,800? ETH almost has to double from here to really feel like, whoa, we're in like altcoin season. This is like legit, and that's what's hard to predict. Because is ETH going to be higher tomorrow or lower? I know the 19th, there's that Japanese central bank, the Bank of Japan, is going to raise the interest rates by 25 basis points, or I don't know, 25 basis points, 75 basis points. Maybe it's 25 basis points, whatever. Apparently, a lot of people think Bitcoin's going down 25% off that. So I don't see any scenario where, if that did happen and Bitcoin went down 20%, that ETH is going to go up. But for me, I pretty much 2025 is pretty much over. There's less than 2 weeks left in it. And so just looking at 2026, and if they're going to add liquidity, if the manufacturing and PMI or whatever is part of this, and that gets back up over 50 and there's more manufacturing, and ETH, Bitcoin is going to lead the charge for crypto, and then ETH is going to kind of lead the charge for alts. And it's really hard to predict the next few weeks. And I can see people selling off for tax reasons this next couple of weeks. So I could see kind of having a sour taste in our month at the end of the year, but maybe January we get rock and rolling. That's just kind of my humble opinion. I don't know. Some people are calling for a massive crash in the overall market next year, just not even crypto, just the stock market. And so if there's a big crash, I don't know. But I think that there's not going to be it might go to the upside, but I don't feel like we're going to get anything super crazy in the next couple of weeks, but I could be wrong. It feels like that we might get a little bit of a sell-off off this Japanese thing, and maybe just the end of the year, people kind of selling for wash trading, or maybe selling off a losing position for capital gains reasons. So that's kind of what I got. Any more Kaspa miners coming out? I haven't heard anything on that. I'll have to check. It seems like that Ice River is one of the main ones, and they're also that the publicly traded companies bought Kaspa. But that would be good if there's some more more miners coming out soon that are more efficient to help offset the lower price. We'll have to look into that in the next video and see if there's anything new on that. It used to seem like Reddit used to have more mining talk, and it kind of went to less mining talk, maybe because there's less miners. When the hash rate was 1.4 exahash, it was a lot more excitement. So that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Buckle up, play your game.